Hvala lepa. Dober dan, dobro jutro. Dobrodošli v Ljubljani. Dobrodošli na Polyglot konferenci. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in Ljubljana. Welcome at the Polyglot conference. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here with you today. My name is Natasa Pirih Svetina. I'm a Slovene language teacher working at the University of Ljubljana, partly as a Slovene language teacher for students coming from abroad, and also partly as a teacher trainer. I prepared today's presentation in English language, but I think it would be a real challenge for you to listen to this presentation in Slovene. Shall we try it? Okay. Če začnemo. 3 deli prezentacije bodo. Najprej zelo kratka zgodovina, zgodba o slovenskem jeziku. Drugi del bo o učenju in poučevanju slovenščine kot tujega jezika. In tretji del bo bolj za zabavo, for some entertaining, some relaxing details on the language and its users. Je okej? Me razumete? Dobro je. Super. So, the first question, Slovene or Slovenian language. If we talk in Slovene language or Slovenian language, it really doesn't matter, because it's slovenščina, slovenski jezik. So, and there were a long discussions, very warm, sometimes discussions on whether Slovene or Slovenian. Important is that Slovene language is the most Western among South Slavic languages. So it belongs to the family of the South Slavic languages, but it is surrounded by all major European language groups. So on the north, there's Austria, and there is German language speaking there. On the west is Italy, Italian as a Romanic language. So on the eastern part, Hungary, the language derives from the Finnish-Hungarian group of languages. All these characteristics had strong influences on the development of the Slovene language. Slovenski jezik govori okoli 2,5 oziroma 2,7 milijonov ljudi. The majority of the Slovene-speaking community is, of course, living in Slovenia. And there are also big groups, ethnic groups, living in neighboring Italy, Austria, smaller one in Hungary, and one also in Croatia. But there we can find, of course, speakers of the Slovene language all around the world. For example, in Northern and Southern America, in Australia, and we'll see today as well also some speakers from other parts of the world as well. And of course, among you, there are also speakers of Slovene language, I believe. Naslednje vprašanje. Velik ali majhen? I hope I will prove with also some statistics then if we speak about the language, the Slovene language, we are speaking about the big language. Why? Ima dolgo zgodovino. Zgodovino iz 10. stoletja. The oldest surviving written texts in Slovene language are actually Freising manuscripts kept in the library in Munich. They're originating from the 10th century, and they're kind of texts used by priests during services. Slovenščina ima prve tiskane knjige iz 16. stoletja. So the first printed books in Slovene language are from the 16th century. They were printed in Germany by a Protestant priest, Primož Trubar, and these two first books are Abecednik, so ABCD, so the book with which you can learn the language itself, and Catechism, so the book used for prayers. Primož Trubar and his friends were very important for the development of the Slovene standard language, and that's why next week we are celebrating a public holiday which is called a Day of Reformation, because these Reformation priests are so important for the Slovene national, cultural and also language history. Leta 1584, so in the year of 1584, the Slovene translation of the Holy Bible was published. And with this early date, Slovene translation of the Bible is actually the 12th translation in one language which was translated. So from Hebrew and Latin, Greek to other languages, and Slovene language was on the 12th position. In the same year, also the first grammar of Slovene language was written by one of these Protestants. It was written in at that time popular, modern, still used Latin language with the title Artice Horule. So maybe a good title for long and very boring winter evenings. Again, velik ali majhen. For sure, very big according to its dialectal variety. Slovenia, I hope you have already discovered, is a very picturesque country with a lot of steep mountains, deep valleys, with a lot of natural borders, huge forests. And according to its natural characteristics and as well historical, geostrategical situation from one to another century, 7 various dialectic groups developed. So we have at least 48 various local speech varieties to be found in Slovenia, which is for such a small territory quite an amazing fact. You can probably not see very well, but these small black points are showing us different ways of saying one word in Slovene language. It is krompir, potato, kartoffel, erdapfel, la patate, but within the Slovene language, researchers have found at least 22 different terms for this small potato. Okay? In local speeches. So that's why in Slovenia this idiom, vsaka vas ima svoj glas, which means?
Every village has its own voice.
yes, has really a strong potential. And that's why it's very important for us to use Slovene standard language so that can we understand each other. Because if one speaker from the southwestern edge of the country speak to another one from northeastern part, if they would use their own idioms, they would not for sure understand each other. So that's why this central standard language is so important for us. Big or small, Slovene language became an official language of the Republic of Slovenia in 1991. And by the constitution is not only the official, but it's also the language in public and formal use. It is used in all sorts of communication, relations, all sorts of discourses in Slovenia. And also it was one of the smallest languages that Windows chose to translate their Windows for this language. So again, one big characteristic of our language as well. In its long history, there's also a long tradition here for learning languages. And also there is a long tradition of learning Slovene, also as a non-native language. Before mentioned first surviving manuscripts in Slovene language were discovered to be written by users of Slovene as a second language. So the researchers proved by analysis that these manuscripts were written by monks who were not the speakers of the Slovene language, because certain scripts, how they wrote certain letters, show that were not really coherent. So sometimes they wrote something they heard with one letter, and in other place they wrote with some other character. So they discovered they were probably users of Slovene as a second language. And beside that, as I told you, Slovenia is a small but very picturesque country, and also it was always a territory where different governments, different monarchies were taking place. And thus, it was the reason that Slovenia and people in Slovenia were from the very beginning forced to use various different languages. We had to learn a lot of different various languages. It was also territory. It was not just multilingual, but it was also multi-ethnical. And there was always a need for learning and also teaching various languages. Now let's move to Slovene language and to its characteristics. I'm not going to teach you Slovene now, because after my presentation there will be another presentation on Slovene language, and you're going to learn some Slovene for sure. But let's say just a few words about Slovene language. As a typical Slavic language, it has these characters with charons, like č for chocolate, in Slovene čokolada. Z, but ž also for giraffe, genre. Š for ours spaghetti, which is actually international spaghetti. So this is Slovene alphabet. Slovene alphabet with these transparent Slovene words used in Slovene, but actually they're international words. So you all now know at least 25 Slovene words. Yeah, you can read them. May I hear you? Bravo, ne vem, kaj delam tukaj. Bravo, I don't know what I'm doing here. Super zbor ste. You are a perfect choir, as it's supposed to be with Slovene people. Okay? We are all singing, and you are singing Slovene language. Bravo. Okay, let's say some words on Slovene grammar. Slovene grammar can be put in single 7 steps. The first and maybe most, charismatic or the most valuable for us is the one that Slovene is a romantic language. Why? Because we can express these intimate situations when two people meet together with a special dual form. So that's why we say that Slovene language is very, very romantic. So we have special forms, not just to express singularity and plurality, we have also special form to express this dual. So a pair in the bench in the middle, they are sitting. They too are sitting. So it's not one person sedi is sitting. It's not sedijo sitting, we are sitting, or they are sitting. It's also they too, they are sitting. With special form sedita. Sedi, sedita, sedijo. All other 7 steps were first expressed in this small pocket Slovene booklet, which was published, or it was about to be published in 2006 when Slovenia was president of the European Union. At that time, so Slovene language, Slovene grammar was expressed in 7 steps. Besides this, that is romantic. We say it's also a polite language because we use these forms, formal and informal, like dutzen und sitzen auf Deutsch. It's simple because it has only 3 tenses. French has how many? German has English more than, but Slovene only 3. Present, past, and future. That's it. Slovene is politically correct. So it can express with various endings, it can express feminine, masculine, neutral, and all other genders. So very politically correct. It's also very precise, because with these endings, we can really express a lot of peculiarities. But sometimes it becomes hair-splitting because we have so many endings, and we have 6 cases with all different endings for adjectives, nouns, and verbs. And that's why it's also somehow irrational. But no problem, we have a system that you can learn Slovene language quite easy. How Slovene language might become splitting was very well expressed by Michael Mansky, who is actually a radio presenter at the radio station Radio International, or he was a radio presenter at Radio International station in Slovenia. And he put on YouTube many different videos with the title, How Can You Become a Slovene? And the first section is on about how hair-splitting Slovene language might be. Do you feel like watching this video? Okay, we might. And it will be a nice break for me as well.
Prvi del, part 1. Kako se učiš slovensko?
The first step to becoming a Slovene is speaking Slovene. This is harder than it sounds. Slovenian grammar is like a weapon of mass destruction. Very, very deadly. Many Slovenes don't even realize how complicated it really is. Over the years, many people have said to me,
Michael, is Slovene hard to learn? Do you have trouble with ch, sh, and j?
the answer is no. I don't have trouble with ch, sh, and j. I don't think any foreigners do. They look a little funny, but it takes maybe 5 minutes to learn. Besides, the sounds are in English as well. Ch like in change, sh like in ship, and there's a j in words like pleasure and genre. Let me tell you an example. Let's say you're walking around outside and you see someone and you want to ask them to go to lunch, but you don't know if they've had lunch already. In English, you would say,
Hi, did you eat anything yet?
now, notice that did you eat anything is the only possibility. You would say that to your boss, to your friend, to your wife, to a group of people, to a child. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. In other languages, this is different. Let's look at German. To say, did you eat anything in German, you suddenly have 3 possibilities.
Hast du was gegessen? Haben Sie was gegessen? Habt ihr was gegessen?
Now, German has 3 possibilities because the language has a formal and an informal case, and German also distinguishes between singular and plural. But still, instead of just, did you eat anything, you have 3 possibilities. Now let's take a look at Slovene. In Slovene, there's not just formal and informal. That's just the beginning. There's also gender. Are you talking to a woman or a man? And there's not just gender. The number is important. How many women and how many men? Not only that, Slovene has singular and plural, plus the dreaded dual case. So, German has 3 possibilities for did you eat anything. Now let's take a look at how many possibilities Slovene has. Here they are.
Si kaj jedel?
1 male informal,
Si kaj jedla?
1 female informal,
Si kaj jedlo?
neuter form informal,
Sta kaj jedla?
2 males informal or formal,
Sta kaj jedli?
2 females informal or formal,
Sta kaj jedla?
1 male and 1 female informal or formal.
Sta kaj jedli?
Plural as long as at least 1 male is present.
Ste kaj jedle?
Plural females only.
Sta kaj jedla?
Plural neuter form.
Ste kaj jedli?
Formal singular form gender unimportant. Here's the way. If you were counting, you'll notice that Slovene has 10 possibilities. 10. One sentence in English that has 10 possible variations in Slovene. And this is official Slovene. Don't forget that in dialects, you might hear something completely different. You might hear,
Ska jedu?
now I hope you can see what a difficult language Slovene is. Imagine walking around the city and meeting your friends, Darko and Tanya, and wanting to ask them if they've already had something to eat. Oh, there's Darko and Tanya. Let's see now. They don't have their kid with them, so that's 2 people. No, it's feminine, right? No, wait, that's for 2 men. I think that's for 2 men. Okay, they're getting closer. Okay, yeah, I know it's and I know it's Kai. It's not jedlo, that's just for things. Actually, it's also little girls, right? Like in dekle je po vodu šlo. So no jedlo, maybe jedli. It's plural, isn't it? Was it jedli for 2 men? Tanya Mann. Oh, they're here.
Pozdravljen, Michael, kako si?
Odlično. Gremo na kosilo?
It's not a problem because of this hair splitting endings, because people would actually be tolerant and would like to understand you even without all these endings. You can learn all these things also with the help of Pocket Slovene, which was published by colleagues of mine in 23 various languages. And I'm wondering if you can recognize all these languages by their Slovene names. Dutch. Super, odlično. So if you are a speaker of one of these languages, you can start with Slovene from your own language. I told you I'm partly a teacher for Slovene as a non-native language with colleagues of mine working at the Center for Slovene at the University of Ljubljana. I'm also co-author of some textbooks. For example, I'm always staying with this ABC, so that's why we did the alphabet today. We have at least 2,000 students per year abroad at 62 universities outside Slovenia. The most distant are for example, in Peking, na Kitajskem, v Tokiju, na Japonskem, v Clevelandu in Seattlu, v Združenih državah Amerike, v Buenos Airesu, Mendozi in Cordovi, v Argentini. So these are the most distant academic territories where Slovene language is spoken, is learned and taught. We have also about 1,000 participants of Slovene language courses at the Center for Slovene at the University of Ljubljana. And this Center for Slovene has also a unit which is an examination center. And in this center, in some of last years, about 3,000 candidates per year are sitting the Slovene as a second language exams. So quite a large number of people already learning Slovene and studying Slovene as a non-native language. So probably a good opportunity also for you to start to do this as well. And one possibility is the one which was also offered to you, and it will be offered for you also in your bags. I think you are probably familiar with it. It's Slovene Slonline online course. Did anyone from you already start? No? Some of you? Okay. But now let's go to some of my students learning Slovene at this moment. University of Ljubljana, where I work, it's the oldest public university in Slovenia, and we are going to celebrate its 100th anniversary next year. Actually, it's a big university with 23 schools, 23 faculties, and 3 art academies. It has about 40,000 students, and 10% of the population, the student population, are international students. This year, about 450 freshmen enrolled also in one special program which was tailor-made for them. It is called a Year Plus. A Year Plus program for these freshmen coming from other countries was developed to help these international students to learn some Slovene for their particular studies, for their own programs. So in my groups, I have various students coming from different countries and studying mathematics, pedagogy, sports, biology, communication science, different things. But they all need to study Slovene because the majority of the programs, also according to law, are offered only in Slovene language. So, about the students. The majority of the students, of course, are speakers of South Slavic languages. And now, vice versa, do you know the Slovene names for these languages? Croatian is Hrvaški ali Hrvatski, ja? Bosanski, Srpski, Črnogorski, Makedonski. Okay, because they're all speakers of Southern Slavic languages, they all have a very high level of receptive skills where they are coming. So at least B1 according to Common European Framework. But they have quite severe problems. They're struggling with language production, at least at the beginning, because they're facing a lot of not just positive, but also negative language transfer. And there are a lot, quite many false friends. And because I promised you also some entertaining at my presentation, let's have a look of some of these false friends.
What's positive language transfer?
Positive language transfer and negative language transfer are interferences. So where there are two languages quite similar to one another because they are belonging to the same group of languages, like a family of Southern Slavic languages, they have some very close similarities. And also because we live together for a longer period of time, Slovene and Croatian are also neighboring languages. So there are we borrow some things from Croatian, and Croatians are borrowing some things from Slovene language. So we are transferring characteristics of one language to another. And if languages are closer, transfer is bigger.
Thank you. What's the difference between positive and negative?
Positive helps you to learn better, to learn faster. And because of knowledge of their language, when they are they're reading, for instance, Slovene text written in Slovene, they understand better because they can infer the meaning of the sentence because some words are similar to their language, the endings are quite similar. They can from instant they can know whether this is a noun and this is a verb. And if you're from the more distant language, you cannot infer this way. So this is a positive transfer. But because of the closeness, the things like this are happening. So my students tend to say, Ljubljana je velik grad. Why? They wanted to say Ljubljana je veliko mesto, but actually they say Ljubljana is a big castle. Why? Because grad po slovensko means castle, but in Croatian it means a town. Okay? Nimam vremena. Okay? And in the literal translation would be I don't have weather, but the meaning was I don't have time. Moja učiteljica je mlada in sitna. Sitna po slovensko means annoying, but in Croatian means it's thin, it's slim, it's petite. Yeah? And check this one. Njeno lice je mlado, ima rumene obraze. I can read it both in Slovene or in Croatian. Njeno lice je mlado, ima I rumene obraze. Ali njeno lice je mlado, ima rumene obraze. Literally, the translation would be, her cheek is young and she has yellow face. But the meaning is opposite. So her face appears young and she has red cheeks. Because Slovene face is obraz, which is actually cheek in Croatian. And cheek in Croatian is obraz, which is face in Slovene. So, can you recognize some of those down there? Na vrtini se igrajo sužnji.
At the door they play in the dark. Children.
Yeah, children, it should be children are playing on the garden, but actually vrtina is a thing we use when we are digging oil. Well, and sužnji are slaves. Do you know from which language it's coming? Slovak. Because vrtina in Slovak language is a garden, and sužen in Slovak language is a child. Zaradi hudega ponosa je moral k zdravniku. Ponos is a proud in Slovene language. But he was meant to be because of diarrhea, he had to go to see the doctor. Not because of he was so proud. That was not the reason to go to see the doctor. Ponos in Russian is diarrhea. Mi lahko poveste, kje je zahod? Literally, would this mean, can you tell me where is the west? Because zahod in Czech language is toilet. Na steni visi obraz. Usually we are putting pictures on the wall, hanging on the wall. Pictures are hanging on the wall. But in Czech, also obraz is a picture. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoy presentation, and I hope see you sometime, somewhere, with some other language. Thank you.
One question. How much different are the dialects? Or can you compare with other languages and dialects?
I might say that I am from Ljubljana. I'm not a speaker of a dialect. But if I go 25 miles to the south, let's say to Idrija. Idrija is a well-known small town in the western part of Slovenia where Rotarski dialect is spoken. And one time I was sitting at the table with local people and I couldn't understand a word. So that's how they differ from one another. So it's really difficult. If you go closer to one or another border, they are more and more different than the standard language, and they are of course, even more different than one another. So the central speeches are more like the standard language, but if you go further north, south, east, west, further are these dialects and difficult to understand.
You were speaking at the beginning about the wide variety of linguistic diversity surrounding Slovenia. Would you say that the dialects that are closer, like that are, for example, on the Croatian border would be more understandable, and that those which have maybe a Hungarian influence would be less understandable? Is that like a reasonable assumption?
Yeah, good clue.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Because I have some students coming from the Croatian towns close to the Slovene border, and their Croatian is much closer to Slovene, also to Slovene standard, than to standard Croatian, because they are using in their speech, they are using this Kajkavski dialect, which is named after the question word kaj, which is also used in Slovene language, but in literal Croatian is šta. So Croatian language is consists of three very various dialects. It's Štokavski, Kajkavski, and Čakavski, and this Kajkavski is closer to Slovene than to literal Štokavski.
Hi, I just want to reverse the first question. I would like to know what the whole Slovenia is laughing at Žabari. How different is like Ljubljanski, Žabarski dialect than for the others from Slovenia? Mm-hmm. What is this so distinct for Žabari?
For distinct for Žabari?
Distinct, yeah. What is the way that you can say, are you from Ljubljana straight away?
I don't know. Maybe we have to ask some younger people, because I'm spoiled. I'm working at the Department for Slovene Studies. So I'm not using this Žabarski. Even my children are not using this Žabarski, and it's a problem because they're accused at school. Oh, you are not talking proper Ljubljanski. Yeah, because they are talking standard Slovene. Kvajdej, koliko je ura? Yeah? Sometimes our students are telling us that there is a problem because when they're learning Slovene in the classroom, it's so much different than the language they're facing on the street. Yeah? And I think time is running short, and for you would now be to say in Žabarski, dost mam. I have enough. Imam dovolj.
Thank you very much, Natasa.